Talk about a line that I never expected to go as far as it has. Turtles of Grayskull, the mashup between Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Masters of the Universe, my two all-time favorite franchises. Boom! Together in one line from Mattel. I expected a few fun figures here and there, maybe a couple waves, but nope. We're about to go into year 2, and I'm going to take a look at the first wave of that, plus play catch-up. Good lord, there's been so many of these things. Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan. Thank you for joining me for another video here on my channel. Hey, if you're new here and you enjoy what you watch today, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really does help the channel out. Now, let's get into all of these toys because I have fallen way behind in covering so many of these figures just simply because these things have been coming out nonstop. Like, Masters of the Universe toys in general have completely exploded between Origins and Masterverse, Cartoon Collection, Turtles of Grayskull. I dare say there are now too many Masters of the Universe toys. It's nuts, and I just haven't been able to keep up with all of them. But I recently shipped my Big Bad Toy Store pile of loot, and it was very overwhelming looking at the giant stacks of figures that I have yet to cover. So before I get to the newer figures, I also want to cover Waves 3, Waves 4, and some of the other deluxe figures that have come out. I won't go full-on toy review with every single one of them, but I do want to give my thoughts on each of those figures. And then we're going to get into the new Snake Men themed wave that is launching at the end of this year or early 2025. Special thanks to Mattel for sending those figures over so we can get a look at them. Now, if you guys aren't interested in everything, I get it. It's going to be a long video, so I am going to do my best to put the timestamps in here so that you can skip to the figures that you want to see. However, watch the whole video or leave it playing, and that actually helps me out. All right, enough of that. Let's get on and start talking about figures from Waves 3 and Waves 4 of Turtles of Grayskull, because these are waves that have been out for a little while now, have already hit stores. All of mine I ordered through Big Bad Toy Store. Like I said, they've been sitting in my pile of loot for quite some time, but this is 2 full waves of figures, so let's go ahead and just dive on in and take a look at them. All right, so Wave 3 brought us Casey Jones. Casey Jones is now on Eternia, and honestly, I don't know, something about this one feels a little strange. Like seeing the way that they tried to do his sweatpants in MOTU style, so now he's just wearing furry underwear and furry boots over his sweatpants, I guess. And the other thing that I thought was really strange was how his torso is just completely colored, this turquoise color underneath for like a shirt, but the fact that the neck is fully painted like all the way up to the head, it looks kind of strange to me. It looks especially strange when you take off the mask. So the Casey Jones head sculpt is actually pretty cool. I like that. It's neat to get kind of like a new human head sculpt in this line. But yeah, I don't know, something about that neck, like just being colored all the way up to the head, looks off to me. I'm not a big fan of that. And honestly, the mask, also not a huge fan of. So I do like that they gave him a removable mask, but you know, it's kind of got a Ram Man inspiration to it, I think. Looks a little bit like the masked head on Ram Man. I know that they were trying to Eternia-fy it, but man, I don't know, Casey Jones has like an iconic looking hockey mask. So like if you were to put this in somebody's hands that is completely unaware of this mashup line, would they be able to look at this and tell you that it's Casey Jones? And I think that's kind of a critical piece when you're doing stuff like this. I think the characters still need to be recognizable, and I don't know that that was accomplished with Casey Jones here. He's got some other interesting elements going on, like they gave him the Man-at-Arms leg armor for like a shin guard. We got the Jitsu-style gauntlet, which is reused from the Masters of the WWE line as like probably like a hockey glove, right? That's totally what that's supposed to be. This is a new like shoulder pauldron that he's wearing with the turtle shell pauldron up there. And we've got this really cool Eternia-ified golf bag that just attaches to his back the same way all the shells do in this line. It's got those 2 peg holes. And then we've got some more reused parts in here, like we now have this translucent green version of this axe that we've seen. We've got the hammer, which again, Masters of the WWE Universe. Wow, I really stumbled over that. Masters of the WWE Universe. This came with the Triple H figure. We've got the Whiplash or the Castle Grayskull spear, which is kind of neat that you can put that on the side of this. But I do really like the hockey stick with the spikes and stuff on it. I don't know. I definitely think there's some fun ideas here. I just, Casey Jones is one of my favorite Ninja Turtles characters, but I don't think I could say this is one of my favorite figures in this mashup line. Teela got similar treatment where she's just Teela still, like she's not really mashed up or anything like that. Now remember, the whole thing about this is like, we're not really mashing 2 characters together from the different worlds. Instead, it's supposed to be just the Turtles are on Eternia, new threat of mutagen, Shredder, all that stuff. So this is just the way the heroes have chosen to arm up to battle these. So she's got Ninja Turtle themed armor now, including her own little turtle shell that can be taken off of the back. I will say this piece right here does get in the way a little bit, but this can be her shield. She just has like these armor pieces that are clipped on all over her. So very similar to a lot of the figures in this line. The way they chose to make the figures different was to reuse the bodies we already had, but create all these new armor pieces. She's even got the same kind of Sai-like sword that Raphael has in this line. And you can see like these little forearm armor pieces just come off, and then we can do the removable body there to take off the new little belt and skirt piece, and this armor piece should be removable as well. We're just going to pull this up over the head here and unclip it from the back. There we go. And see, when you strip all of that armor away, we're left with just a standard Teela body. Although this is a brand new head sculpt where you can see that the helmet she's wearing is non-removable. I kind of like the swivel ponytail on the back there. But interesting looking at this body because it's just the standard Teela body where they left a lot of it just unpainted. But I kind of like the silver highlights on there. In fact, I want to bring in like a regular Teela head just because I want to see what it looks like when we pop it on this body here. Makes for a very interesting looking Teela. I will say this needs to be silver to fully match it, but that's an interesting look, almost like a like an Arctic Teela, right? I don't know, it's okay, but again, just like the Casey Jones, certainly not one of my favorites in this lineup. So Wave 3 finally gave us Skeletor. We have Skeletor in the line, and honestly, this is kind of cool looking. Obviously, this is some Shredder-inspired armor that Skeletor is now wearing. He's got this very cool kind of soft, tattered cloak cape thing that he's wearing, which you're going to see reused again. And then he's got like this bright green, I guess it's supposed to be like ooze-colored samurai armor that he's wearing. I love this new head sculpt up here. The helmet's non-removable, but it looks very cool. And honestly, this whole thing gives vibes of something that we totally would have seen in an actual Masters of the Universe toy line. I mean, come on. We had Samurai Skeletor in the 2000X toy line as a real Skeletor variant, which is probably why my brain looks at this and goes, yeah, that tracks. I kind of like his Havoc Staff style nunchucks. Those are pretty wild there. Fun stuff. And I also love that he comes with an actual mutagen ooze canister. I think that's pretty fun. I don't know. I like this one. I just think he's really neat looking. And the last figure in Wave 3 finally gives us the 4th turtle in Michelangelo. And I know there was a lot of debate about why he looks the way he does. I know a lot of people don't like the wig. The idea here is that he thinks He-Man's cool, right? He idolizes He-Man, so he shows up wearing some Flying Fist-inspired armor and a He-Man wig. Now, if you're not into the wig, here's the good news. Totally a removable accessory, which is now kind of funny because we just have an accessory of He-Man's hair. It's huge because it's fitted for a giant turtle head, but still kind of funny that it exists, right? We got a standard Michelangelo head sculpt underneath that, which I actually really like with the big round eyes and the happy smile on his face. I think that works great. Like I said, the armor here is certainly inspired by Flying Fist He-Man. I think early on I thought it was like a battle armor He-Man thing. Several of you pointed out to me that it looked more Flying Fist styled, and you're right, I agree. It looks a lot more like Flying Fist He-Man's armor there. You got the weird removable shell, which is a thing in this line. I still don't know why they do that. It could be a shield if you want it to. I don't know. Some of you told me to stop complaining about that, but I still think it's weird, so I'm going to always mention that I think it's weird. He's got some nunchucks, which are a little strange because they do have real chains on there, but I don't know if it's the way they were made. I don't know if they're supposed to be like stuck like this, but like a lot of these chains are almost like molded together so they don't move. There's not a lot of fluid movement with it, especially with this one here. Like, look at how stiff the chain is on this one. So I don't know. It's weird, but I do like the bright colors on them. I do think it's a fun Michelangelo, and I don't know. I like the wig. I'm pro wig on this Mikey. Okay, we're going to kick off wave 4 now. And this wave kind of introduces us to like variants already. Here we are getting characters that we've already got in the line for the first time. Starting off with the Stealth Leonardo here. So it's just another Leonardo, but this time around, he's wearing like this skirt-like robe piece. He's got the hood over his head, which is removable off of that head if you want to do that. The best way to do it is actually to pop the head off the figure, because this is like all, like he's got this cool furry shoulder piece here too, which is, you know, very much inspired by somebody like King Grayskull. So you can take all of that off if you want. And then you've got this Leonardo, which I do really like how they molded the bandana pieces laying over the torso. I think that is pretty cool. He's a neat looking figure, I'm not gonna lie. He's got standard looking katanas. He just kind of looks like a fun, like Ronin style Leonardo figure. I'm just not entirely sure why we needed a variant of the turtle so soon in the line, but he's cool looking, I'll give him that. And then He-Man again. But if you remember, at the beginning of this line, it launched with He-Man being mutated into a monster. So the comic book that comes with this wave explains how they fixed He-Man and how they're going to fix all of the mutated Eternians. So that brings us back to a standard He-Man. Now this is like a stealth He-Man to go with that stealth Leonardo. So he's in a little bit of cover here. Honestly, I don't know who looks at this and goes, I can't tell who that is. That's very stealthy, He-Man. We can't tell who you are at all. But, you know, it is what it is. So here he's got a hood as well, which is removable. He's also wearing this little mask, which I think is supposed to be like a, I don't know if it's like a ninja mask or like a capture mask or what it is, but it's removable. I will say the paint deco on He-Man's face on this one is certainly not very good. Like, he looks like he's rolling his eyes up into his head and his eyes are painted really uneven, like trying to do his best Undertaker impression there. I don't know what happened with the paint deco, but it's real bad on mine. I don't know if it's like that across the board. So here's that cape that we saw with the Skeletor. We've also got the same cape on He-Man here. You know, the armor shoulder. You could take all of that off if you want to, and it's just the standard He-Man underneath. But one minor difference, and this is interesting. Look at this. He still has the boot that's ripped and his toes are poking out of it. It's a really interesting detail. I guess a side effect from being mutated, because this He-Man had that as well, the mutant He-Man. But the thing that's funny about it is it's the exact same foot that they reused. So He-Man's got some really gnarly toenails. Like, bro, what is going on here? You need to go get a pedicure or something. Cut those nails, dude. Yikes. Next up in this wave, we've got April O'Neil. This one is pretty fun. So the comic that comes with this kind of explains what's going on here, but essentially, like, she's been imbued with some of the sorceress of Grayskull's powers and is kind of positioned to be sort of like a key to fixing everything. So I like that they made April like such an important character here. I think that's awesome. That is really cool. So you can see she's a mishmash of what you would expect for April O'Neil with a yellow jumpsuit and the Sorceress of Castle Grayskull, which really creates a fun, unique looking figure here all the way around. So the way the wings work on this is similar to all the other stuff. Everything in this line has these two holes that they plug into, the shells, everything. It's really interesting that they designed this new interchangeable bit where all the pieces are interchangeable. And that's the way the wings work on this. So the wings plug in, they actually are nice and tight, and look at that, they extend outwards. And I gotta be honest, is this the best way we've seen Sorceress's wings on any figure so far? Because I think so. Sorceress's wings always seem to be difficult to get for some reason. I don't know why. They're always really gimmicky and it kind of ruins the overall look. This looks great. Honestly really like this, and like you can fold the wings down. I think it looks pretty good here. The other thing I really like on this is the head sculpt. I think it's beautiful. Like, that is a really good April O'Neil head sculpt. The little sorceress tiara is not removable. It is glued onto the head, but otherwise, pretty nice looking April O'Neil head sculpt there. She's got this interesting hammer accessory, which I was wondering what it meant. Like, why does she have a hammer? And then it kind of dawned on me that I think it's supposed to be like camera lenses. Huh? Because she's a reporter? That is pretty fun. So, yeah, we got this crazy sorceressified April O'Neil who's got this camera lens hammer thing. I don't know. I think she's a pretty fun one, honestly. And then there was Hordak. The ruthless leader of the evil horde, of course, has to get involved in all of these new shenanigans happening on Eternia. And this is a really interesting one as well. I mean, Hordak has always kind of had the ability to change his look and his forms with his mechanical part. So you can see he does have this new cannon arm over here, which looks like it's a mutagen cannon arm. How cool is that? And to add to it, we even have this green version of the blast effect that we've seen throughout the line. But it's done in an ooze green, so you can plug that into the cannon, and now you've got a Hordak that's just blasting mutagen at people, which is pretty nuts. So he's the blue version of Hordak, got that Filmation vibe going on, but you can see he's got these crazy mechanical red bat wings, very similar to the Sorceress April we looked at. They just plug into those two little holes on the back of his armor, but you can see they are articulated as well, so you can expand the wings. Pretty crazy stuff there. The head sculpt is really interesting. I don't know if you can tell. It is definitely not coming across, but it's almost got this glittery look to it. Like, I think they were going for like making it like really metallic and shiny. So it's pearlized, but like I swear it's got like sparkles in it. It's really interesting looking. New armor piece here with the Horde bat on it. This is a pretty crazy looking Hordak. Also, like, he's got like a belly type shirt going on. Like, he's showing a lot more body than we usually have Hordak showing. But it's a pretty crazy look for the character. And, you know, aside from the fact that he's got this weird mutagen ooze arm cannon, like, he's not very Ninja Turtles. Like, this could just be a Hordak in your Masters of the Universe collection if you wanted it to. All right, there's a few deluxe figures that I also haven't looked at yet that I want to give you guys brief opinions on. So this one right here is the Target exclusive Master Splinter, or Splinter Skull, because he is imbued with the power of the spirit of Castle Grayskull, or King Grayskull. Honestly, this is cool looking. Like, he looks awesome. So he's basically just rocking the cape of King Grayskull, which you can see is removable. You could pop that off there. But he's also got King Grayskull's hairstyle. Look at that. He's got the ponytail with the little beret in the back, and he's wearing armor. He's wearing King Grayskull's armor. So that is pretty fun. And then his cane, his staff, has got like a glowy blue power sword on the top of it. It's a pretty interesting look, but I still like it. Like, it looks like Splinter, so that is pretty cool. The comics kind of explained it almost like a way, like they basically like manifested him, the power of Grayskull kind of merging with their sensei Splinter. It's really interesting stuff. I don't know. He's a fun looking figure to be sure. And he also came with another piece for this, so I wanted to show this because this is our almost fully built metal Bato figure. This is the Roboto and Metalhead hybrid here. The only pieces we're missing are the feet and the arm, which comes with 2 Bop Steady, which I have not found yet, so as soon as I have him, I'll be able to complete this. This torso came with Splinter, which is when I first realized this. Look at that. You can actually remove the front of the Metalhead shell to reveal the Roboto gears inside, and it even does the same thing you would expect it to when you turn the waist there. How cool is that? I'm pretty excited to build this whole thing just to see the first ever Build-A-Figure in these lineups here. I'm curious to see what he looks like when he's all done. But that brings me to probably my favorite figure to date in all of Turtles of Grayskull. This was a Walmart exclusive, which made him just absolutely absurdly hard to find. I never found this one at my local store. I had to get help from somebody to find this and ship it to me because, like, man, these Walmart exclusives are absolutely impossible. And that really sucks because this figure is inspired. This is beautiful. This is Mer-Man as if he were mutated. And just like with all the other mutated figures in this line, he's made of translucent plastic. It's this beautiful mixture of like this teal blue and this purple. There's like metallics in there, the gold highlights. Everything about it looks so cool. You can see it's almost like he's been mutated with a lanternfish because he's got the little bob thing hanging off the front of his nose there. I love the colors on this, the way it all fades and is metallic and is very cool. But even neater than that is we've got this extra mutation with him, because you could just use these Mer-Man legs, or we can remove those at the waist and instead we can attach this fin accessory, which is a really clever reuse of Lady Slither's snake tail with a new fin on the end of it to convert it into a full-on like Mer-Man tail. Look at that, like he's a real mer person now. I love this figure. I think this is so cool. And this is another one where, heck, this doesn't have to have any association with Ninja Turtles or with Turtles of Grayskull. This is just a great looking figure. Could be with your Masters of the Universe figures. Could be a weird lackey of Mer-Man. If it was easy to buy a bunch of these would look great like standing behind Mer-Man as like a Mer army. I don't know. I think he's a great looking figure. Certainly my favorite one to come out of this line so far. All right. With my thoughts out of the way on all of the figures up till now, we are going to jump into an upcoming wave of Turtles of Grayskull. Once again, shout out to Mattel, who are nice enough to send over a few figures early. Now, I don't have the entire wave. I'm actually missing Mekaneck. They only sent me 3 figures from the wave, but one of them is the one I've been most excited about, so I'm really anxious to get into it. So without further ado, the latest wave of Turtles of Grayskull with the new Doom of the Snake Men. More snakes. All right, so this latest wave is now the first wave of the new Snake Men themed Turtles of Grayskull. So year 2 of Turtles in Grayskull now introduces a Snake Men element to the story. Just like Origins, we have just got snakes everywhere. It's kind of crazy to me how Mattel went all in on Snake Men, but here we are. And so there is some differences to the packaging, because now we have that Snake Men-like logo in the background there. Just putting this card back alongside the past card backs for Turtles of Grayskull to show you the difference between them there. And then the backs do feature some brand new artwork, incredible artwork that continues across the board on all of the card backs. I always appreciate the artwork there. And the cross-sell down below shows you the 4 figures that you can get in that first wave of the Snake Men lineup, which is a brand new Snake Hunting Donatello, a Snake Hunter Raphael, a Mutated Rattlor, and Snake Hunting Mekaneck. And I will point out that that Mekaneck is the only figure from this wave that Mattel did not send over. So I won't be looking at him today, but we're gonna take a look at the other 3 figures in that wave. Now, with these figures, you do get a brand new mini comic, Reptile Wars Part 1, Snake in the Shadows, which kind of gives you the backstory here, lets you know how the Snake Men got involved in this whole mess, and continues with the fun mutations that we've seen from the ooze on Eternia. So let's go ahead and kick things off with our brand new Snake Hunter Raphael action figure. I think it's only fair if I just go ahead and bring in the other Turtles of Grayskull Raphael for a quick comparison time right at the beginning, because now that we are getting Snake Men in here, we've hit the point where we're getting new versions of the Turtles. We're already getting turtle variants. So this was our original Turtles of Grayskull Raphael over here. He's got a bit of a Ram Man design to him, while the new version has a snake armor He-Man look to him. Like, look at this. With the armor that covers half of his torso, one of the legs, he has that total snake armor He-Man vibe. It is pretty cool. And then the logo on the front, the emblem is a big R instead of like the cross that is usually on He-Man's armor there. pretty fun stuff. So they do have a very different look. And of course, the best thing about this is that we don't have a helmet covering the head anymore. Now, the helmet was removable on the other one, but you can see how the heads differentiate from each other. We now have a more grimace to the face, which I do feel is a bit more Raphael, and he is now wearing the bandana that goes over the top of his head, which is pretty cool. So differentiates him from the other one. You can also see shorter ties on the back there. Just for funsies, let's swap those heads. Let's see what he looks like here. In case you wanted to do some mixing and matching between these, it does look like the skin tones match up, thankfully. So they're the same shade of green. We don't have to worry about any mismatches there. And yeah, there you go. Check that out. That's pretty fun. So if you want to put a more traditional looking bandana Raph head on this new body, you can do that. But I gotta be honest, I like the angrier look of the new head quite a bit more. So with this figure, the armor piece on the top of the arm, that is actually part of an arm sculpt, and obviously we have seen that sculpt before. You can see those familiar lines worked in there, but then it's just, you know, the regular Raphael arm underneath that. You can see the wrist bracer is a separate piece, so removing the hand, you'd be able to pull that off if you wanted to there. Just like all of the Turtles and Turtles of Grayskull, the same thing continues with the shell on the back, where it itself is removable just by popping it out of these two little holes on the back of the armor, and it has a handle so it could be a shield. I talk about it every time. I think that's weird. I don't know why why we're doing that with these, but it is what it is. You can see he does still have that weird sculpted shell on the back that is the same color as the skin tone, and then the armor here doesn't look like it's removable. I wonder if we popped all the parts off maybe. So obviously, Turtles of Grayskull utilizes the Origin system, so all of these parts are interchangeable, and yeah, there you go. You could pop that off if you wanted to. Of course, now though, you wouldn't have a way to put the real shell on his back, so if you pop that armor off, you're going to be left with this, and no shell. So you can see that they do have this really cool Ninja Turtle style belt with the red Raphael tassels hanging off the bottom of it. That's a separate piece that just goes over like a standard He-Man pelvis there. And then the leg armor is the same from the Snake Armor He-Man figure that goes down on the right leg there. So as far as accessories go, of course, Raphael does come with a new pair of sais, and these are actually pretty cool because that other version of Raphael we saw earlier, the first release one, he had these oversized sais. One was more like a sword, and the other one was kind of more like a claw attachment. So this time around, we get something that resembles more proper size that he can hold in his hands. So that's pretty cool. And then for storage purposes, he just has the larger opening on the back of the shell, which they do fit in. So you can store them there on his back. And you might want to do that with at least one of them because his last accessory is this crazy snake catching claw right here, which again, great nod to the Snake Armor He-Man. So this would be able to fit over either of the hands. Probably would make more sense if I put it on the armored arm, but you know, you can put it on either of the arms there. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Yeah, I assume that's exactly the way they anticipated that to be plugged on. But it's kind of fun because it's even snake-shaped. You can see how it looks like it's got a snake head on the top, and the blades are almost shaped like a jaw and like teeth jutting out of the snake. So it's a fully new accessory, which I think is pretty cool, and that gives us a brand new look for Raphael. So, yep, here we are with the turtle variants. I don't know if this is something we were all clamoring for, but, I mean, it's a well-done action figure. So that brings us over here to Snake Hunter Donatello. And once again, he's definitely got some Man-at-Arms inspiration going on here. I mean, it makes total sense for Donatello to bond with Man-at-Arms. So you can see, new look on the top. He's wearing this hooded cowl that has a bit of a snake theme going on to it with little eyes on the side. But he's got this new piece on the front that still looks like Man-at-Arms blast shield that's like covering his mouth there, but it now has like these snake fangs on it, which is pretty cool. His armor has a bit of a Flying Fist He-Man vibe going on, very similar to what we saw Michelangelo wearing in the Turtles of Grayskull line. I gotta say, I love the metallic purple though. The metallic purple mixed with the silver looks really cool. You can see it's kind of like that marbleized metallic purple on the torso, and that does appear to be the way the whole torso is molded here. It just has like the extra like silver strap pieces over it. But then we got like this metallic paint deco up on the shoulder pauldron, up here on the fangs, on the face mask, on this shoulder over here. It's pretty cool stuff. You can see he's also got the extra silver armor pieces on the forearms, like he's got the little flamethrower thing, Man-at-Arms style. He's also rocking some knee pads, which are removable. They're just like clip-on little armor pieces. It's really interesting the way so much of the stuff they've done for this line is all like clip-on extra armor parts. Like all this stuff is typically removable. Of course, the shell, just like we've seen, comes off of this armor piece. So there you go. There's your silver armor piece, which is just over that metallic purple torso. But something else I wanted to show you too is up here with this hood, because the hood is fully removable. We have to pop the head off in order to do that, but look at this. The face mask comes off and the hood comes off, which now gives us a fully unhelmeted Donatello head in Turtles of Grayskull, which is great because, again, we'll do a comparison time. This is the first Donatello that was released in this line, and that one was permanently wearing the Man-at-Arms helmet. You couldn't pull that off of this figure. So now we finally have a Donatello head that can look like a standard Ninja Turtle, which is pretty cool. Also, the bandana is a darker purple on this one, which is really interesting to see. But there's those guys standing side by side. Okay, for accessories, Donatello has this really unique bow staff, which has some of that Man-at-Arms inspiration going on. You can see the ends are kind of like Man-at-Arms club shapes here, but this is what's really cool about this. You can pop those off. It just pops off of the little pegs on both ends, and now you've got like a standard bow staff if you want your Donatello to rock that. So that is actually pretty cool. But let me put those back on because we're not done with the accessories on that just yet. So we'll reattach those little clubs. And then the other thing about this that's pretty cool is they included these flame effects. Now, we've seen these flame effects before. I know specifically, I remember them coming with the Demigorgon on the Stranger Things pack with Skeletor. But these are able to be clipped onto the ends here of the staff. So now we got Donatello like doing this crazy, spinny, flamey bow staff thing, looking like he's coming out of the circus and ready to attack King Hiss. So that's going to bring me over to my final figure that I'm looking at from this new wave, which is the Mutated Rattlor. And look, it's no secret that I think the mutants are absolutely the highlight of the Turtles of Grayskull line. And when this Rattler was revealed at San Diego Comic-Con, he was certainly the standout to me of this new set. And in person, man, this is an absolutely wild looking action figure. So let's go over what we've got going on here, because this is pretty crazy stuff. First of all, you can see there are lots of translucent molded bits here. The legs are molded in a translucent blue, the feet are pink, the hands are pink, the arms are translucent blue, and then they just painted sort of like the standard Rattler red, almost like it's fading out of existence into this like bright neon translucently colored bits there. It's just really, really wild. While the torso is just the standard Rattler red and yellow with the same kind of bendy tail coming off the back, but it has this new armor piece on there, which is molded in that bright pink. And then the head here is even cooler, because one thing that's so cool about this head up here, as you can see, it almost looks like the standard Rattler head has folded backwards, mouth open, and now we have this skull head coming through the mouth, almost like he's shedding his snake skin, but just revealing this bone structure underneath. It is absolutely wild, and that's molded all in that bright pink as well. You can see opening and closing jaw there. Crazy, crazy stuff. Now, these armor bits are interesting because you can see the forearms are just like these extra bony pieces that clip on. Honestly, they fall off very easy. It's kind of a pain in the butt because handling this figure, these things just fall right off. They do not clamp on very tight at all. I kind of hate that, to be perfectly honest. You can take off this armor bit here. Like if we just remove this whole head structure here, you can see that this is removable just by unclipping it and bringing it over the top there. So the body is just like our standard Rattler body. In fact, can you hear that shaking? he still has the rattle bits on the inside, so he still rattles like you would expect from Rattler. So really interesting stuff here. And again, the way they just kind of created these new clip-on armor bits to make the figure look different is very interesting. That's sort of been what they've done through most of Turtles of Grayskull here. And I guess it's kind of smart. Like, instead of sculpting full-on new figures, they're just using what they've got and adding new armor bits to it. So the head is really cool because very similar to what we saw with Donatello. You can see it's like almost like a collar that just fits up over the neck here, while the head will just plug right onto that neck joint the way you would expect. But this is Rattler, and Rattler's whole feature was that his neck could extend. So in order to do that, they didn't give us just one, but two bony neck attachments, which is really fun. So if we pop off the head, we can now put these attachments on that neck joint. I will say they are a bit tough to plug on with this head thing here, and it almost gets in the way just a little bit. But so you can do just one attachment if you want to, if you want just one extended neck, which is already pretty cool like that. But if we want to get totally crazy, we can go double. We can extend the neck double. Look at that. Put the head on the end there. Open the mouth, and now we've just got this crazy looking mutated Rattler where his bony neck and skull are jutting out from his actual skin. This is a really, really rad design. I love this. It's so gnarly, and I think the colors are awesome. It's just so out there, but the out there stuff is what I think has been the absolute best part of this crossover right here. I think just these weird mutated creatures like this, just seeing these characters that we love presented in a different way, this is fun stuff. And Rattler stands among some of the best figures from this line so far. I would put him up there with Mutated Mer-Man, and even like stuff like Mutated Moss-Man as some of my favorite figures that I've seen in the line so far. There you go, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me for this, what was certainly a lengthy video, taking a look at all of these figures from Turtles of Grayskull. Overall, I have very mixed feelings on this entire toy line. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it or lie about it. From the very beginning, this was always something I was hesitant of, right? Because it's my two favorite properties, and you worry about how those are actually gonna play with each other. But, you know, some of the concepts and ideas have been really fun. I've admitted that I've liked a lot of the figures here. However, it feels kind of like the further we're going, the less I'm enjoying a lot of those designs. I think it's really interesting to see the engineering here, the way they are coming up with all of these different armor pieces to clip on the figures to make them different. I just don't find a lot of them ultra exciting. Like, for me, it's all about those mutants. I think the mutants are awesome. I think those are certainly the most creative and the most fun out of everything that we're seeing here. And I know we've got some more really wild mutant creations that are on the horizon. So I'm really excited about those. I think all of those are awesome. I think it's some of just the regular figures, the regular characters, where they're just kind of wearing new armor, that they're not as exciting to me personally. Maybe you guys feel differently, and this is where you can sound off and let me know your thoughts. Tell me down below, are you into all of this? Are you still buying Turtles of Grayskull? Are you gonna see it through all the way to the end? Because 2025 is also gonna bring us a Masters of the Universe and Thundercats toy line from Mattel, and we don't even know what that one looks like yet. But man, as much MOTU as we've had lately, I see no signs of it stopping. Pretty crazy times.